Welcome to Everyday Money Matters. And of course, as always, I am not going to be alone on this particular show. I will be joined by our money men and women. And of course, today I have a very interesting money panel. And I can see Lawretta joining me via Zoom. Hi, Lawretta. How are you doing today?
Hi, Adu. Good morning.
Can you hear me?
How are you doing?
Hello, Lawretta. Can you hear me?
Uh,
I'm not sure she can hear me though, but I can see Lawretta joining me on the Zoom platform, and she's going to be joining the conversation with me as we will be taking a look at some of your questions on money matters. So if you have a question, what you need to do is send it to me via WhatsApp. The WhatsApp line of the station is 0809-234-5913. That's 0809-234-5913. And you can use that to join me here on the show. And later on, maybe we might open up the phone lines for you to be able to ask your questions and get across to me. Lawretta, can you hear me now?
yes, I can.
Right? I wasn't really hearing you, but can you hear me now?
Yes, I can.
Okay, great. Awesome. Good to have you on the show, Lawretta. How has your week been so far?
Fine. We're thinking of new ways to make money. So
Please share those new ways with me. Don't leave me in the dark. Anyway, good to have you here. What did you say?
I said send in your questions as well. So
I should send in my questions. No, don't worry. I'll have a private chat with you, maybe over dinner or something. Right. Anyways, there are a lot of questions here, Lawretta, already lined up for us. So I'm just going to run into them right away so that we can have as many as possible. This is coming in from someone who says, "Hi, Nairametrics. I was shocked when I got to the bank today and I was told I cannot deposit dollars which have any marks on them. These marks are the marks your regular bookie will imprint on dollars you purchase from them. It says, this is a serious problem. Or am I to burn my dollars now? I need some advice, please." And that's what this person is saying. What do you think, Lawretta?
Well, I was not aware of that. So what I can say is, if one bank doesn't want to accept it, try another bank. But I don't think there's any rule that says that you cannot pay in dollars that have marks on them. Not that I'm aware of anyway.
Could it possibly be maybe where a bookie guy put the marks kind of interfered with some security features of the dollar bill? I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. That could be it as well. If it's a security feature issue, so if it's covering an important number or something, then he needs to go back to his bookie guy and probably make a swap. But beyond that, typically when you are paying in money to the bank, sometimes you see, people write stuff on money and things like that, and the banks do still accept it. So try both ways. Try a different bank or confirm if some of the notes have been compromised in any way.
Okay, so another question here, Lawretta says, "Good morning. If you don't mind, I want you to talk about the availability, limitations, and forms of bond types and stocks in Nigeria." So that is a question coming in. So availability, limitations, and forms of bonds and the types of bond types, I guess, and stocks in Nigeria.
That sounds like a full project question.
Okay, summarize it in 3 minutes, as much as you can.
Okay, so let me start from stocks. For stocks, there's so many stocks because there are so many companies who want to raise funding and have gone to the Nigerian Stock Exchange and made their companies public. So by buying shares, by buying stocks in these companies, you get a stake in their organization. Now, there's a whole lot of them. And so in terms of availability, there's a lot of them, really. Limitations might now then be in terms of you being able to determine which stock would yield investments, which ones would fail. That's where you now need to have the technical skills to be able to to carry out fundamental analysis, all of that complex stuff. But that's why, we have platforms like Nairametrics. We have a Stock Select newsletter where we help people, where we tell you about different kinds of stocks and they help you, guide your decision-making process. Now for bonds, there are federal government bonds, there are corporate bonds, and the same way they are also trying to raise funds. However, they tend to be less risky than the stock market. So with bonds, particularly because the organizations that put out bonds, like the federal government or large corporations, are the ones that typically would not fail. So they would tend to give you your capital, back. They would tend to give your capital back. However, that preservation of capital comes at the limitation of, significantly, much lower interest rates than you can get from the stock market. So yeah, that's it. That's its limitations and
the individual should just go ahead and subscribe to Nairametrics. I'm sure the person would have a more detailed.
Yeah, there's a lot of articles. There's a lot of information you can pull out. So yeah.
Okay. All right then. This one is asking, saying, please, boss. Well, please, lady, I'm going to say, I want to apply for a loan to buy tricycle and the 7-seater bus from any federal government or CBN parastatal, I guess. Says, please, how can I do it successfully?
Yeah, there's so many of them. Particularly this year, because of the COVID-19 pandemic, the governments have put various grants and loans in place for small businesses to be able to survive the times. So there's a lot of them. There's one by Lagos state government, there are a couple by federal government, there are a couple by CBN as well. You just need to find the one you're interested in, see if you qualify, because I believe there are some for small businesses, there are some for those in the health sector, there are some for those in the agriculture sector. And apply. By applying, you find the list of all the things you're supposed to do. So you send the things you're supposed to submit, and that's it. Wait for that information. But there is no one way of applying for each one of them. So you need to go through each one of the criteria available, and see if you qualify first, then follow the rules to apply. Yeah.
Okay. All right. I'm trying to read out some questions here. Says, good morning, Adu and Lawretta, the money lady. If someone sends me dollars to my GT domicile account, will the bank charge me when I want to withdraw the dollars?
Well, the bank will charge you when you want to withdraw even Naira. So definitely, the bank will always take a commission. I mean, that's why they serve as the organization in the middle. So if you're in through them, definitely they get a commission of that.
Okay. Here's another one. It says, good morning. Initially, there was a lot of skepticism, beg your pardon, surrounding cryptocurrency. CBN at the time discouraged people from investing in crypto. Now people, including governments, are queuing up behind crypto. What has changed?
I believe the thing with any risky investments is that there tends to be, particularly from people who want to preserve their capital, there tends to be a pushback. This thing, cryptocurrencies, on the face value sounds almost absurd. Somebody created something and called it currency, and somehow this thing is supposed to keep appreciating in value, and I'm supposed to buy this imaginary currency and make money out of it. So there was a lot of pushback with cryptocurrency. However, I have friends who had the opportunity to buy cryptos when they were significantly cheaper, like £5, significantly cheaper, and did not. And now it's at, I don't know how much it is right now. Last I checked, I think it hit the $20,000 mark. I would need to confirm that, but it's been surging. However, it is still what it is. Nothing actually changed. Like any risky investment, sometimes it gets really good, sometimes it gets really bad. So the fact that everybody's queuing up behind it does not mean that suddenly cryptos are the way forward for you personally, based on your own investments, your own investment goals. So with cryptos, just like any other risky investments, you could invest and you could lose your money. You could also invest and you could also make a whole lot of money. So nothing changed. The market has been making a lot of money, particularly because of the economic quagmire we found ourselves in this year. But it is still what it is. So you could go in now and start losing money. You never know. But it's important to understand the dynamics of the market and how you want to go into it, because there are a couple of let's call them I call them network marketing cryptos. People that promise you a fixed amount of money for you to. I saw one this morning. They said if you bring 500,000 naira in 1 month, you get 85,000 naira, something like that. I don't know what kind of system they created, but I believe they have tried to simplify the process of investing in cryptos for the everyday person. And yet it will still have its risks. So be aware of both sides. Not all that glitters is gold. That's what I'll say.
I hear you. Okay, let me take some more questions here. We'll go to the phone lines today. Maybe just give it a little change so we can hear some of the listeners. This one is another question here. It says, Dear Nairametrics team, what's the best way to invest $20,000 in Nigeria today? Wow, that's a big question.
Yeah, and that's a lot of money. That's a lot of money. And this is a better way to invest as opposed to going in taking like 100,000 naira today and 100,000 naira tomorrow. So what I think is with $20,000, there's so much you can do, particularly because it's advisable for you to have a diverse portfolio. So as opposed to carrying your $20,000 and investing in one investment vehicle, probably the Nigerian stock market or just bonds or cryptos or real estate or whatever, one of the best investment strategies is to diversify your portfolio. So what I would advise is decide what percentage you want to be in risky classes, and decide what percentage you want to be in risk-free classes. Those are the capital, and they're not necessarily risk-free, but they're capital preservation assets. So assets like before treasury bills. Now we all know the story of treasury bills. So I'm just going to jump right out of that. There are bonds, there are federal government bonds, there are Euro bonds that you can invest in. Then there's also the stock markets. Look into the stock markets, select stocks that are, in fact, you can diversify in the stock market in that you can invest in growth assets. So growth assets are the ones that you put in your money and they just keep growing. So they're not necessarily very big. I don't want to go academic on you, but every business has its own life cycle. And so for companies that are still growing, it means if you invest in the company right now, in a couple of years, it will keep growing, because it's at that point where it can take on more market share and expand and all of that. But if you invest in a company that's already stable, what you get is stability. So also in the stock market, diversify your portfolio by investing in both growth assets, the ones that would tend to increase, in share price, increase the market share and market value and all of that. Although they could be risky, but you could also invest in stocks that are already stable, because that's that you can get dividends as well. The stocks that are the matured stocks, that's what I'm calling them. They are the ones that you invest, and then you'll be able to, they might not increase necessarily in share price or grow per se, but because of the vantage points they have in the Nigerian market, they would be able to retain their position enough to pay you consistent dividends. And if you're daring enough, you could also go look into cryptos as well. A small portion. But my advice, pretty much, just so I do not spend the whole day on this question, my advice is diversify your portfolio, look across probably 5 assets. You can also go to agrotech. Agrotech is doing well, relatively well now. So you could jump on that as well. Just spread your 20,000. In fact, divide into probably $5,000 or even lower and spread it across, and you'll be better for it. Yeah.
Oh, so speaking of cryptocurrency, someone on the question and answer column here is saying, is it advisable to invest in cryptocurrency? I think you've already kind of answered that. But another one says, what is your advice on FX as foreign exchange? It's Forex, I guess.
Forex trading. So both are risky. So I just want to make it clear that both are risky investment vehicles. In other words, you could put your money in and you could lose all your money. The great part of investing now is that you can easily open an account with any of the trading apps and or the trading companies or the brokerage companies, and you can invest yourself. But what I would advise on both cryptos and FX, particularly for people like myself who are not necessarily vast in those sectors. So if you are not a professional, I would advise you go to through an investment trading company, the ones that you would pay a commission, and their job is to make sure that your investments in cryptos do well and your investments in FX also do well. They would not give you any guarantees. Some do. Some give you a level of assurance that, okay, if we're going to lose your money, it won't be, you still have 75% for sure, things like that. But ensure you go to people who are who do not try to paint a picture of heaven for you, people who are very realistic about your expectations. Yeah, but because personally, I would not attempt trading Forex because I'm not very, I don't have those technical skills of, well, I was going to say staying up all night, because this is very skill when trading Forex.
Oh yeah, that's actually one of the things that the idea that comes to your mind is like, hey God, to do this thing, you have to be watching it per second.
Every single move, if the governor, if the
Goodness
president
gracious.
of the United States coughs, you have to, anticipate what impact that would have on the market. So personally, I would not go through the stress.
Meanwhile, yeah, sorry to cut in on you, Lawretta. Here's another question here. It says, why are banks hoarding foreign notes, that's the pounds and the dollars, even with legitimate need for study or travel? By applying for PTA, they will ask you to go buy from the Aboki or the black market, pretty much.
To be honest, so much has been happening in that space. Because on one hand, the federal government is trying to preserve its own, the economy, state of the economy. So they do not want these notes to be readily available. They do not want currencies like this to be readily available, so they are not abused, things like that. So they have been putting a few control measures. You will also see all of that on Nairametrics. A few control measures in place. Although I would say some banks would have it easier than others. So you're going to need to ask around and see what your options are. But yes, there have been strategies the government and CBN rather has been putting in place to kind of mitigate the economic crisis we're in right now. And Forex is, FX is one of the, the hot spots. Yeah, so you might not find it as easy as you typically would on a regular day.
All right. If you want to call in, you can join us on the phone lines 0809-234-5913, 0809-234-5913. And you can also call 0809-222-0913. Let's take some phone calls today. It's been a while we did that. So 0809-222-0913. And then you can call the landline 015150-913, 015150-913, and 015151-913. You can use that to join us here on Everyday Money Matters. And I have the money lady herself in the building, Lawretta, with me. Lawretta, here's another question on the live page. This one says, I have a business idea of creating a platform to bring together people in a particular field for hire. Is it advisable to build the app without having a big customer base? Let me take that again. I have a business idea of creating a platform to bring together people in a particular field for hire. Is it advisable to build the app without having a big customer base?
So when you are, so typical startups, for typical startups that want to venture into whatever industry, right? They will tell you that you should have, I don't know what it's called again, a minimum viable something. So it's like you're supposed to test the markets. So you could have tested on a small, maybe 100 people or something. So my what I'm trying to say is the first thing you need to do is test the waters. Now, the fact that you don't have a big customer base does not stop anything if there is a big market existing, if there's a big need to be solved. What matters is that whether you are able to pull in as much of that market as possible. So there's an example. Let me give you an example. Sorry, because I'm stuttering. I had wanted to do something like this as well. I wanted to create a platform and bring in writers and digitize, saying writing blog posts and things like that. So the market exists because everybody's writing. There are platforms everywhere. But what I figured out when I was testing is that people did not want to go through all that process to be able to get an article. It's easier to call somebody and say, hey, do you want a writer, as opposed to going online and going through a process and filling in a form. At the end of the day, they will now give you cost and all of that. So what I would say is, before you build the app, I don't think what you should be worried about is whether or not there's a big customer base. First thing you need to see is, one, is there a market for it? Is the market willing to pay for this service? Will they be willing to make the switch? And the only way to do this is to carry out this first round of tests. It could be on your close friends. It could be, anonymously online through digital platforms. Test the waters first before you put in money to build the app. Ensure that you are meeting an actual need, and then after that, you can now go ahead to build your app. When you're sure that the customer base, you're sure that the market will be willing to convert to your app. Yeah, that's it.
Great. So here's another question. How do I get unblocked or unblacklisted from the credit bureau in Nigeria?
I'm not even sure what that's about.
So
I'm not sure what that's about. The credit.
So credit bureau. The when you take a loan and if you default, the bureau, the people in charge, the banks, so if they blacklist you, how do you get unblocked?
I wouldn't know. I feel like at this point you would need to go back to whoever blocked you and demand. But I actually have no idea, so I'm just going to pass on that one. But we can keep it until next week so that Ugo could touch on that. Yeah.
Another one says, good morning. My late dad had some shares for over 30 years. Dividends have never been claimed. Now stockbrokers say you can only claim for the last 12 years. The rest is returned to the company. Is that true?
Well, I've never heard about that. I've never heard about a 12-year threshold or roof or a cap or anything. Typically, you just go, get a list of all the unclaimed dividends, and then get a share transfer form, then you process it. It's easier to go through your broker because he or she will do all of that for you, or your registrar. But I don't know why your broker would say. I've never heard of the 12-year rule, to be honest. So, but I will look into that and see if there's anything like that. But I've never heard of that.
Hopefully, the person not trying to wiggle them out of their what's it called now?
Yeah, I've never heard of 12 years. You just go to your registrar, you fill in the information required for you to be able to get your unclaimed dividends. As long as you have the proof, I don't think anybody should stop you from getting your rightful money. So yeah.
Wow, Lawretta, thank you very much. We are actually pressed for time, so let me see if I can sneak in one last question, and then we'll call it a day. Now, this one is asking, good morning, please. I want to know what it really takes to be a certified investment analyst. So, are there
Oh, wow.
courses? Are there webinars? Are there seminars? What does the person need to do?
An investment analyst is somebody who can analyze various investment options, and then be able to make decisions. So you need to be very analytical. That's where the analyst comes from. And for that, you need to be vast in. So you need to understand. Okay, sorry. Just to go back to the last question, one of the panelists said there is a 12-year rule on reclaiming dividends. So after 12 years, the money goes back to the company, covers. So yeah, there's that. So there's a rule like that. Never heard of that. So yeah, you just need to know how to go through. You need to understand various investment vehicles. You need to be very analytical, and you need to be able to make decisions based on all the information given. All of that. You need to be able to offer candid to potential investors. So there are courses, of course. You can apply for courses, but a lot of it will be you being able to use as much of the information available to you for good. Yeah.
All right, Lawretta, thank you very much for joining me today on Everyday Morning Matches. We could have continued the conversation, but we are out of time, and I really do appreciate you joining in and shedding some light on these questions and more. I hope that maybe next week we'll get to see you and Godre here. Okay? Do enjoy the rest of your day, all right?
Yeah. All right. Thank you.
Bye, dear. Okay.